All right. Buying at a discount is recommended but not mandatory. Is it absolutely critical that you buy that defaulted piece of paper at a discount?
No.
No? What would determine that you pay face value for it?
Loan to value.
Loan to value. Now, wait a minute. I got a house that's worth $80,000, for example, and there's a $25,000 first on it. It's in default. They're foreclosing. By the way, does it matter if there's a second and a third?
No, they're wiped out.
Well, it matters to me, because if there's a second and a third, there's a very good chance that I'm not going to wind up with the property. One of them's probably going to come in there and cure the default, or it's over, aren't they? Hello? Yeah, it matters. But if there is a second and a third, I'm probably going to want a discount. I'm probably going to want a discount, because if I pay face value, the only thing I'm going to get out of doing this is the interest that is accrued on that note. Maybe. Maybe. Of course, remember all them fees I have a habit of adding in there when it comes time to get me paid off? I'm going to find a way to make me a little money on this thing, even if they redeem it. But if it's a first mortgage and there are no seconds or thirds, there's a better chance that I'm going to wind up with a property. Of course, that's certainly not guaranteed. That's also a good chance that some of us sharks are going to be there at the auction bidding the property up. But who names the payoff on the first? The mortgagee. And if I buy that mortgage, who becomes the mortgagee? Yeah. So I very well may pay face value if I feel like it, especially if it's a higher interest loan. I mean, putting out $25,000 and it's a 14, 15% loan or whatever, that's the very least you can get, isn't it? The very least you can get is that 14 or 15% that accrues on that money between the time you buy it and the time somebody pays you off. Isn't that right? And with a little bit of ingenuity, I think we can increase that ante quite a bit, don't you? If I can't get it discounted and I like the loan to value ratio and I like the property, I may just well go ahead and pay face value and see what happens and force the issue. Let me tell you the ones that I really like buying the most, though. I really like buying the ones, if I'm going to buy them and not get a great big discount, I like buying the vacant, ugly houses, or mortgages on vacant, ugly houses. Why?
Redemption period shorter.
Because the chances of somebody redeeming it are much, much less. You see, they'll go to the auction and buy the pretty ones, but they ain't so apt to go to the auction and buy the vacant, ugly ones. And I'll tell you another reason. If the house is vacant and ugly, it means that the owner-occupant is not going to redeem it, nor file bankruptcy on me if I have to foreclose on it.
Ron,
Did you hear that? If the owner-occupant's not in the house, chances are slim they're going to file bankruptcy on you. On the other hand, if I'm buying paper on a property that is owner-occupied, they're going to fight tooth and nail to protect their rights. It might be a long time before I get it back, just like this couple I talked to you about here. If I'm buying paper on a vacant house, number one, the bank's more apt to sell it to me, especially if it's ugly. Number two, I'm more apt to have less problem getting title to the property. Question?
Not a question, Ron, just a comment. In some states like Michigan, the redemption period is 6 months there. If it's vacant, it reduces it to 1 month.
Oh, really? If I lived in Michigan, there wouldn't be an option. I would definitely buy paper only on vacant houses. You hear what he said? The redemption period in Michigan is 6 months if it's owner-occupied, 1 month if it's not. I like that. By the way, if you're going to buy tax certificates, Michigan is a state to buy them. What's the maximum that you can collect up there? 50%?
Yeah.
50%. Even I might be satisfied with that rate of return. Probably not. But never buy a piece of paper without checking the title first. If you do, it's seminar time. If you're buying a second, make sure it's a second. In addition to that, you have to know what you're dealing with, don't you? You have to know what other liens are on the property. For example, IRS. Because if you're buying a second, and there's an IRS third on it, I think, Phyllis just told you what could happen. They could come back and redeem it. Even if they don't, and they probably won't in that case, you've got to wait 120 days to get clear title. Now, that may or may not be a big problem. But you better know it's there, hadn't you? You better know it's there. What about state liens? Does a foreclosure wipe out city and state liens? No. In other words, you could be in second position, and there could be a $10,000 state lien on the house that you didn't know was there. You thought you were in second. And the truth is, aren't you really in third? If that state lien is superior to your lien and you can't wipe it out, it's the same as if you're just now buying a third mortgage, isn't it? Hello? Because you can't wipe them out. You have a first mortgage that's superior to you, and you have a state lien that's superior to you. You're in third position any way you like it. any kind of a lien filed by the state. For state income taxes, or whatever else states file liens for. City liens, just as bad. For boarding it up, or mowing the grass, or unpaid sidewalk, whatever. Water, sewage, yes. You need to check title, make sure you know what you're dealing with.
What about mechanics liens?
Mechanics liens too. If they're on there before your second, well, they wouldn't be on there before your second. You would wipe out a mechanics lien if they're inferior to you.
My question was, what about unrecorded liens?
There is no such thing. I'm not worried about any unrecorded lien, with a possible exception of one. And here's one you ought to watch when you're buying houses. If you're out buying a property and it looks like that the city might have been involved in some action, for instance, if it's boarded up, you better darn sure check. Or if it looks like the city's cleaned up the premises, or they've mowed the lawn or whatever, or if there's a sticker on the door saying they have, you better have your title company call the city direct and see if there's any city liens pending on the property that haven't been recorded yet. Because it takes them months sometimes to record these liens. Now, you buy the property, your title company checks the property down for title, and the lien has not been recorded. The title company does not know it exists. They issue you clear title. Now you close, and the lien comes down 2 months later and gets recorded against the property. Is it your problem or the title company's problem? It is your problem. If that lien was not a public record at the time that title company issued that policy, they have no responsibility whatsoever to pay for it.
If they get title insurance from that?
Even with title insurance. If it was not recorded at the time that they issued you the title, it is not their problem. It is your problem because you own the property. You have to find out by calling the city department that is responsible for issuing the warrant to do the work and see if there's a lien pending. You just have your title company do it. Say, title company, I suspect the city's got a lien working. Would you check it out before we close? Let them do it.
How do you gain access to a house that's vacant when you acquire the second mortgage?
How do I gain access to a house that's vacant when I acquire the second mortgage? It's called a crowbar. Or a hammer. Or a screwdriver. If the house is vacant, folks, and I want in it, I'm getting in it. Especially if I happen to be a lien holder. Incidentally, do I have that right as a lien holder? If a house is vacant and assumed abandoned, mortgage holders have the right to go secure their interest. And you have that right when you buy that mortgage anyway. But would that matter whether I had that right or not? No. Okay? Make sure you get an assignment, not a satisfaction. We covered that. Take the assignment in a paper trust. We covered that too, didn't we?